Is this film going to live up to the Road Warrior? Is it going to immerse us back into the world of Mad Max? Let's find out. Mad Max Fury Road. So Mad Max Fury Road is the fourth installment in the Mad Max franchise. It follows Mad Max, who meets a woman named Furiosa, who's trying to free these wives from a deadly madman in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. Max has no choice but to team up with Furiosa in order to get these wives away from this lunatic. Going into this movie, I wasn't expecting a lot, to be honest. Little did I know it was going to be better than the Road Warrior. Let's start with Tom Hardy as Max Rockatansky. As soon as you see Tom Hardy as Max, you immediately feel like he's been in this role for years. Going into this, I felt like I was going to have to grow onto Tom Hardy, and I didn't feel like I was going to be attached to him straight away, considering this has been Mel Gibson's role for 3 films already. Tom Hardy nails Max Rockatansky so beautifully. As soon as I saw him on screen, Tom Hardy convinced me that he was Mad Max. He's got that really rough voice in his throat, and you just know he's been in the desert wasteland for years. The amount of action Tom Hardy dwelled into this film was just amazing. From all the advertisements, I felt like Charlize Theron's character Furiosa was going to be the one with all the action and all the praise and everything, but Tom Hardy, he was brilliant as Max. He really pulled me in as the character. I was immediately convinced by him. I'm glad George Miller was able to find an actor who could pull off Max just as well as Mel Gibson, if not maybe a bit better. I know Mel Gibson's iconic in the role of Mad Max, but I really enjoyed Tom Hardy as Max. I really hope we get to see some sequels, because I want to see Tom Hardy back as Max Rockatansky. Charlize Theron as Furiosa is one of those surprise characters. I thought she was going to be the one that was just overriding the whole film, higher above Max and just replacing him as the main character, a lot like Mystique in Days of Future Past. But the balance George Miller created between Tom Hardy's Max and Charlize Theron's Furiosa was really well done. When we find Furiosa, she's been working for Immortan Joe, the film's villain, for a long time. This isn't said until later on into the film, but you can tell from the way that Charlize Theron acts that Furiosa has been working for this man for a long time. She was a joy to watch throughout the entire film, and I really hope I get to see her again. Nicholas Hoult as Nux was a really good performance. He's one of those characters that you love to hate and hate to love, but as the movie continues, you decide ultimately that you do love this character. I feel like this is Nicholas Hoult's best performance ever, actually. Mad Max Fury Road really brought it out of him. Actually, props goes to you, director George Miller. You were able to bring out these characters so effectively that you convinced us that these were real people in this real post-apocalyptic world. The villain Immortan Joe is one psychopathic punk. He's not crazy in the way that Humongous was in The Road Warrior, but he's crazy in his own unique way. He has this really cool body armor latched onto himself, this really cool breathing mask placed over his mouth that's connected with wires at the back of his head. His voice is so cool too. Hugh Keys-Byrne, who played Immortan Joe, actually played Toe Cutter in the first film, which is pretty cool. Ultimately, he was a very frightening villain. I really was pulled in by his motivations. He had a really commanding presence when he was on the screen, so it was nice to see a really original villain come back to the cinema screen. What I love about this movie so much is that the whole film feels like one complete action sequence that just never stops. Sure, it has its great story, intriguing characters that pull you in, but this film, its action just never lets up. You have the beginning of the film, then you have an action sequence, then you have a little break, then an action sequence, little break, action sequence, little break, action. It just never stops. I don't think I've ever been this pulled into an action film before. The pacing of this film was perfect. The amount of action Tom Hardy gets into this film is incredible. I'd say it's better than The Road Warrior. There's not one single chase scene in this film or action sequence in this film that's boring. I will admit, I shed a few tears during this film because I was just so happy that I was watching a great piece of cinema. That happens to me sometimes. I cry when I see a movie that's really good. The soundtrack in this film is great too. Junkie XL really pulled off a unique and captivating soundscape that really brings the post-apocalyptic world of Mad Max into contact. He really mixes non-diegetic and diegetic sound together, so you don't know what's playing in real life in the movie world or what's playing just for you. The visuals in this film are some of the best cinematography work I have seen in recent years from any film. The visuals of this film are so beautiful and rich with context. It's just sublime. The cinematography in this film also really brought out the post-apocalyptic world that Mad Max lives in. It feels really worn out and tired, yet interesting. You also get more emphasis at the beginning of this film as to what this post-apocalyptic world is. It expands on the information that we found out in Beyond Thunderdome regarding how this post-apocalyptic world was created. A great thing that George Miller did with this film as well is you don't have to see the first 3 Mad Max films to watch this one. You can go into this film and watch it as the first film of the franchise that you've seen and still love it. His direction in this film was exotic, and I really think that he's trying to recreate this Mad Max world for a new audience. I'd say Mad Max Fury Road is the best film of the year so far. I walked out fully surprised by this film, and I'm going to be thinking about it for the next couple of days. It had pure adrenaline action, the characters really pulled me in, and that's supported by the acting too. Tom Hardy especially pulled me in as Max. Goodbye Mel Gibson, hello Tom Hardy. The cinematography was amazing, the action sequences were just incredible. It feels like a fresh beginning for the Mad Max franchise, and I feel like we're going to see a few more sequels after this. Please, box office, don't fail us for this movie. Go see this movie if you haven't, because if the reason a sequel doesn't get made is because the box office was low, I'll be disappointed. So yeah, Mad Max Fury Road is the best film of the year so far, and after a first viewing, I'm giving this film a solid 9.5 out of 10. It was that good. I really hope we do get sequels to this film. I'm really keen to see Tom Hardy return as Max, as well as Charlize Theron as Furiosa. So, Mad Max Fury Road, have you seen it? And if you have, comment below in the comment section and tell me what you thought of it. Also, make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with my latest movie reviews.